Hey everyone, Monica Jazik from RPI Education, and welcome to the Financial Freedom Summit. In this series, you'll hear from 21 experts sharing powerful wealth building strategies that 98% of people are not using. These interviews are packed with real actionable steps to help you fast track your financial freedom. So let's jump in with today's guest, Pamela Barty. Pam, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm so excited you're here. And I have a quick bio I'm going to read to the audience just so they can learn more about who you are.
That sounds fabulous.
All right. Pamela Barty is the powerhouse behind the Revulsion Group, leading the charge to develop peak performance communities that create sustainable, accessible housing in a reality all across 50 states. From ADUs and shipping container homes to modular communities, she is on a mission to unlock wealth, equity, and purpose, one backyard or neighborhood one at a time. Pam does not just build real estate, she builds legacy, opportunity, and conscious change. She's also the voice behind the Underdog podcast, a global platform for breakthrough stories and bold action. I love that, Pam. And I love your podcast. Audience, if you have not already, go on the Underdog podcast, Google that, and click subscribe because you do have an amazing, amazing podcast.
Thank you so much, Monica. Appreciate that.
And you missed a really important fact about yourself in this bio as well. She's a mother of two-year-old twins. So
Yeah,
developer, an investor, financial freedom, mother. You'd have to be financially free with two-year-old twins, right?
literally.
Yeah.
They're a
I
bank
mean,
of
who could afford that?
they're a bank of their own, I like to say.
So, Pam, let's get into the wealth building strategy that you used that's really created financial freedom in your life. And why do you think like most people don't do this strategy and why it is so underused?
So the main, I've been a real estate developer for about 12 years. I'm a licensed GC and all the things. And so being a real estate developer, you start to look at different properties in different ways, right? And to see how are you going to create maximum value on this property. And so as developers, we get the first look, if you will, and kind of the first intel and insight as to what are the things that make a property valuable that maybe a homeowner just isn't aware of. And one of the biggest strategies right now that's sweeping America, I mean, it's hit West Coast for a few years now, and now it's hitting East Coast big time in legislation and it kind of moving throughout the United States, which is why I'm so excited to talk about this, is adding in accessory dwelling units to existing properties.
Mhm.
It is a huge wealth building vehicle for so many, and it allows homeowners to play on the same level as real estate developers, right? And it's a leg up for you because before the move was always this, that you would buy a multifamily, live in one side, rent out the other, and that was the house hacking, right?
Mhm.
However, in really, really dense markets and urban markets, especially, you're competing with investors that are paying cash for these multifamilies, and all of a sudden that cash flow doesn't even make sense anymore. Right. So the new multifamily is really these single family houses that add an accessory dwelling unit in the back. Right. So this is what's coming on the scene next. It's actually already here in a lot of cities, and in other cities, it's really coming to the surface. So accessory dwelling units, adding another unit basically to your property legally is really the next wave of wealth for middle class America. And as we know, the number one source of wealth for most Americans is their single family home, right? So if we can help them optimize that, then that is golden. And that's really what we're up against. And the reason why I think it's not a utilized strategy is because most homeowners just aren't aware that they can do it. So that's why I'm here to kind of spread that message to say, hey, you've got this little golden ticket in your backyard, you know about it, you know?
They really do have a golden ticket, don't they? Whether they choose to do it with an investment property or actually with their primary residence. I love the ADU model. We've been doing that for years here in Canada. And I know the US has always kind of been like, oh yeah, maybe, maybe not. But I love to see that that model is there now. One very successful investor and developer here put it so eloquently when he stated that in high growth markets where they're not making land anymore, they can consider it land banking. So if you were to buy the property and add the ADUs, so now you're at the cash flow positive position. Over the years, you could continue to add ADUs to the point that you've filled the whole backyard. And any piece of land that really is there, they're calling this pretty much land banking because we do just not the single family to duplex conversions. We'll do duplex to fiveplex or single family to five and see how many units you can get on there. And people can still stay in these high growth markets. And now they only need one investment property to really kind of create those goals for yourself.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's so many use cases too, Monica, when you're talking about, say, elderly parents that want to still live in their home. They want to be in the home that they, in the neighborhood that they, grew up in or, raised their family in. And they don't want to go to an assisted living, which is going to cost them 10 to 15 grand a month on average across America, right? Their thing is now they can move to a single level accessory dwelling unit in their yard and rent out their main house, and it allows them to age in place with dignity, right? So there's so many different, like, yes, for rental income, but then there's all of these family reasons that really comes into play. So it's so diverse across the board. It's different use cases, which I love. And I'm like, what, it just depends on what the family's goals are, right? To see what the ADU makes sense of for them, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, and like, tell us what area are you in currently? So you're
So
in,
I'm in Boston, Massachusetts.
nice. And so do you focus all across the US or just mainly in the Boston area, or what areas are you focusing in?
So we provide modular solutions to developers and contractors across the US. So we're licensed in all 50 states.
Mhm.
In terms of building, we do that here in Boston, our own developments here, and we also help homeowners here on the ground. So that's here in Boston. But yeah, we can provide the solutions all across America. As we focus again on like the modular side, so like the containers and panelized systems and things that help you build faster, scale faster.
Mhm. And so Boston is a pretty expensive market. It must be.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
There's no question. I think it just got ranked like the fourth most expensive city in the US right now.
Yes, it really is. Like it really is. So it's great to see solutions where people could stay in their market because it's also a fabulous market. I was actually speaking to one of the other presenters on this forum too, and we were talking about how expensive markets are not bad markets. They're great markets, actually, and there are ways to make sense. And sometimes you should be more inclined to stick with expensive markets than low-end flat cheap markets. Well, all the time, the low-end fat cheap, but cheaper does not mean better. And the fact that people can actually take their primary residence and turn this liability into an asset so it actually starts fitting with their life, I think that is just phenomenal, especially in these expensive areas where the cost of real estate, it's never going to really go down. I know we've all kind of come down a bit, but real estate goes in ebbs and flows. It's not going to sink down forever and all of a sudden properties are $100,000 in central Boston. I don't think that correction will ever happen. So this is really great for people to even be able to qualify for these properties to be able to stay in their homes and have even more than one person on the mortgage. What were you doing to build wealth before you started using this strategy? And what was that pivotal moment that like happened in your life where you knew that you had to make a change? And this could even be what were you doing like before real estate investing even?
Yeah. So it's actually, it was about 4 or 5 years ago that and I've been in real estate development for about almost 12 years now, which is crazy. And on the general contractor side too, being the actual builder. So I was doing new construction, condo conversions, the things that all developers does, flips, all of that. And that's really where I started. And so I had made it to a level in my career where I was featured in Forbes, Time Magazine, like multi seven figures, whatever, all that good stuff, right? And I really felt this sense of emptiness, right? When I got to that level, it was like everything I ever wanted, I thought, right? And then I got there and it was like I was unfulfilled. It's not like I wasn't proud of what I was building because I'm like,
Mhm.
anybody can do this, right? Anybody can build, flip, whatever. What I want to do is really be able to give the middle class a leg up because I came from nothing. My parents came to the US when I was 5 and through working hard and having amazing humans and resources to be able to like learn about creative financing so they could buy their building, like things like this, like that knowledge is power. So when I was thinking about middle class America, and learning the fact that the single family home is the number one asset for most Americans is where most of their wealth lies. It's like, well, if I can just teach them that an accessory dwelling unit can help them unlock wealth in their own backyard, that would be a huge leg up for me because, whether they work with me or not, I don't care really genuinely. It's about them knowing the power of what they have and being able to leverage that, so that they can get an equity line of credit, have additional rental income, whatever their family situation or dynamic might be, but just so it's something that they know that they have a leg up. So that was one thing. And then the other part was, really focusing on purposeful building and not just building for building, but that's when I kind of got into my peak performance communities and wanting to build something with substance, right? And something that is legacy based. So that's really, building with purpose is a really important thing to me. So between the peak performance communities and the accessory dwelling units, it was like both of them have their own purpose, but the ADUs is more focused on, you know, information, if you will, so that way these homeowners and anyone we come in contact with just know the power of what this could be and just spreading that message. I think that's the most critical thing with it because it can really change your life if you can use the strategy in whatever way makes sense for you and your family.
It really can. I love that we are like on the exact same mission to fill the wealth gap.
Right.
And that's why I love, I'm so glad you joined this summit because that's what we really want to do. And I do feel that knowledge is power. And people don't know these options are available, and it's not complicated. It's very simple. And when they have someone amazing to explain it to them, like yourself, or to provide this service, really that is the solution. And that is really a passion driven business. So you really are helping fill the wealth gap in America. And that should be even more Times magazines for you and Forbes. We need more publicity for Pam because we need more people doing this and more people learning about it so they could participate. Now, when we were initially talking about this, Colin, I know the next question is to walk through your strategy and how the strategy can help people fast track wealth and create financial freedom in their lives. I want you to kind of also talk about that development that we spoke about initially when you said, yeah, you're coming on the summit. Because I know you always have these amazing projects and you're extremely passionate about this project. I think you already said your strategy is the ADU. We'll get into a little more how people can do that. But tell me more about that project that you created, your most recent project that you're working on.
Yes, for sure. So I have a project in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. It's the first peak performance community in America. And so what peak performance means is really we optimize peak performance in every area of your life, right? So it's peak performance from the human side when it comes to wellness. And then there's peak performance when it comes to the actual building structure in which you live in, right? So it's designed to optimize your life at the highest and best, and also like energy performance, right? So we have a lot of green energy embedded in building materials, things like that are sustainable, and that's kind of embedded throughout the entire development. And then we also have the element of the green energy infrastructure, which really kind of creates a sovereign nation, if you will, of the essence of the development. So the green energy, and then we have a food ecosystem as well, which is really exciting on the project. So imagine, we become our own utility company for the project that we're developing. We have our own green energy infrastructure that basically creates green energy on site and feeds the development, which is huge. And then any excess energy gets sold back to the grid. We have a food ecosystem that's coming on site that typically what you would need 10 acres of farmland for, we can put in a 40 by 8 container that's fully automated year round. And we use data from basically the residents that's going to come in and basically test your biomarkers and say like, where are your nutrient deficiencies so that we can create the the produce. We can basically grow the produce according to what is needed for each townhouse that is in the development. So it's pretty exciting stuff. It's really, I mean, if you think on like living in like a biohacking community, if you will, that's amazing for the people, the planet, and everything else, So
And it's in the city too, right? It's pretty much in the
yeah,
city.
it's 40 minutes away from Boston, so
Yeah.
it's right next to, so it's not like rural and by any means, it's in like a suburban market, but yeah, we're right next to a university and also a train station, which is really exciting. So this is the first one that's really taking off, and we're going to take that and kind of build them all over America in different models. We'll have a build to rent model, we'll have build to sell models, but the whole idea is that, we've got this whole like energy efficiency, life efficiency in there, and once we get to a bigger site, We'll do like a live, work, play model as well, where we've got like Montessori schools that want to jump on board with us, like little pop-up cafes, like all these cool little things, because the amenities are really cool. I mean, you're talking saunas, cold plunges, pop-up cafes, little co-working spaces, places where people can gather because the community piece
Mm.
is really essential too. What we're building right now is really just, I mean, it's isolation, right?
Mhm.
And so my developments, yes, they're peak performance for you personally as well, but it's also a place where you connect with not just everybody around you, but it's also with yourself, right? So there's a lot of layered elements to what we're doing. There's a lot of science embedded into what I'm building as well. So it's pretty exciting stuff, which I'm pumped. Like there's neurological aspects, like for example, walking in, there's going to be cathedral ceilings in absolutely everything I built because that
Mm.
basically activates alpha brainwave state. So an alpha brainwave state puts you right into meditative state, which is
Mhm.
amazing. Just automatically, your brain automatically will do that. That's the neuroscience of it. So just all these little things that are basically getting embedded that people won't even realize when they come in is pretty cool.
How did you come to that? Like you hear people talking about, oh, let's build green, let's do this. Okay, we'll have like a communal food area, we'll do this and that. But I mean, the fact that you're actually going into, the creating meditative states and everything, what inspired you to have this whole, it really is a holistic model. I don't know of any other builder that's going to that measure. And it's
Yeah.
so important because if people feel a certain way when they come in these homes, whether they're going to buy them or
Hmm.
rent them, they're going to be in a happy, productive environment. If you're automatically putting them in that state, and it's going to be more likely to buy them and pay their rent, and because they want to live there.
Oh, absolutely. It's really all about your field, right? So I talk about the quantum field a lot, and we have quantum technology that's going into every single one of our properties that we build. And it basically creates coherence in the field, which means like if any EMF, it'll just vacuum it out. Like I mean, it just creates that clarity in your space, so that you get that good vibe feel, right? The reason we have bad vibe feel is because when there's chaos and so much going on energetically, right? So there's all this like quantum technology, all this neuroscience, and all these things, biolithic design that's coming into all that we do. And it's really all inspired by my own kind of journey in the spiritual realms and my wellness journey as well, and really figuring out and learning about biohacking and all of these incredible things that create longevity and basically restore wellness. And watching where the world is headed with all these things. There's all these like social wellness clubs coming out, and just wellness is becoming more of a lifestyle than it ever has been. Like, especially in my generation, the millennial generation, like you'd rather see you're seeing wellness retreats becoming more of a thing now. I mean, it's showing up all across the market. So it's like watching those models and watching the trends, right? And then in addition to what I would want to create for something for myself and for legacy purposes, it's like kind of intertwining my development and like my spiritual and my science brain. It kind of
Hmm.
created this entire development, if you will, or concept in a nutshell, if you will. So it's pretty fun. I'm super excited about it. Again, it's the beta, so I think it's going to absolutely blast off once this one really goes live because we're breaking ground on the first one in about a couple of months. We already own it and we're almost done with the renovations on the existing building. So yeah, there's so much excitement coming with that too. And just a different way to extract revenue from a site that you would normally see.
Hmm.
It's a totally different way to do things, right? A lot of people, like you said, want to build green and all of that, but it's like, all right, how do you make that work on a pro forma, right? So we're creating energy models, we're creating food models, we're creating all of these projections so that we know exactly what we're working with when it comes to these projects. So I'm
I
excited.
love that. We'll have to work together and bring some of them here to Canada.
Yeah, I know. I'm totally down. I'm totally down.
We need homes to become homes again for people to live in. Homes right now, as expensive they are, they're all just built as cheap as possible and provide very little lifestyle
Right.
for people as possible. People now no longer even have a backyard space. I mean, that's why it's, with these ADUs like the land banking, people prefer to do stuff like that than actually have that sort of green space. And so a lot of people's life is just they're pumping out these homes and trying to convert everyone to condominiums as well
Wow.
in the condo markets. And not everyone wants to live in a condominium. They don't want to all live in condominiums. I love townhomes personally. I think
Mm-hmm.
they're fantastic. They're better to build. You're closer to your neighbors. Your taxes are lower, and it gives you the independence of like a single home. So to have those other features attached to it, it's kind of like the best of both worlds. Like I guess you could say you're bringing the heart to home,
Oh,
really.
that. Thank you. It's basic. Well, it's, you know, and again, it's like building with intention is really important, right? Like, yes, you can create, you know, something with a lot of different homes in one area and create a condo, but what are you really creating, right? Like, yes, you can do that, but make sure you do it tastefully to create a space where there is that connection. Because when it comes to real estate, people are willing to pay more for a beautiful quality of life in a place that feels good to them, right? It's not necessarily the square footage anymore. Actually, people prefer to buy down. They don't really want 3,000 square foot homes.
Mhm.
They want something smaller that they can just, you know, they can just have and have a lower payment and have a higher quality of life because more people want to travel. I mean, the average stats are, you know, most people don't even stay in their homes more than 10 years, right? So
Yeah.
there's all these different things like, you know, the lifestyles are shifting. Like people don't really stay in their houses for 30 years now. The average is less than 10. And
Mhm.
in urban markets, it's about 5, right? So just all of these different things are really coming into play. So it's just been it's been an interesting ride to be on. And I'm just so excited to see where it takes us, you know, creating that lifestyle, really, and like the new era of living.
So business question for you then. Is the cost to build these and put the heart in the home per square foot substantially higher than the standard cost to build? Say if it all in you're at say 400 square feet, would you say it's pretty much the standard cost to build?
It really varies
It
by the
varies against states, it varies against countries, it varies in markets. I'd say here, all in you'd be at like a 400 square foot per square foot for the cost to build.
more probably, yeah, because the thing is Massachusetts, for example, you've got fire codes, energy codes that are specific to Massachusetts, and then building codes that are different that are specific to Massachusetts. So certain materials and things are a lot more because they have to meet that mass code. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, the cost to build in Massachusetts in general is astronomical because of those reasons and the codes that they've imposed on top of the regular codes.
Yeah.
So it makes that number much higher. But
But
yeah,
you still make it work. You love working in that market. So
oh,
obviously it all peters out with
oh,
the demand and the cost for the home.
except if it just varies. That's the thing is their cost significantly varies. And I will say since COVID, prices have gone up
Mhm.
substantially when it comes to these things. And the new things that they've imposed in, which is why, you know, when it comes to modular, I think that that's like the way of the future when it comes to building. You just have a lot more, um, confident numbers, right? So it's like, you know, this is what you're paying. It's not going to deviate from this number. And you kind of go from there. That's kind of the best way. Although site work does really vary sometimes, especially in
Mhm.
Venice. But yeah, I mean, you typically do pay a little bit of more of a premium, but when there's
Mhm.
economies of scale, you're able to kind of bring that down. And also with the revenue being brought in, and this is where our data points are going to be critical, is the revenue being brought in from the food, the energy, and the HOA fees, that becomes a totally different, that's like a business on top of the real estate,
Mhm.
right? So which can help drive costs down as well and help the HOA basically become its own business.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have much
So it's
H.
like for the residents living there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
Exactly. So
amazing. And
that's
it's
what we
okay to pay more for something better. Like, isn't that the way things work?
right. And it's also an investment too. So our beta with this one is really interesting because if we do really, really well on the energy side, they're pretty much going to be able to like not really pay for energy costs.
Mhm.
If we can offset a lot of it and sell a lot back to the grid, which it looks like we're going to be able to, then in that case, I mean, you're saving thousands a year, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's an overall, you know, the value of the investment. So when we have those data points, is going to be amazing. So for the second one, we'll be able to really get to the next level with that, which is super exciting.
And I'm wondering if, like, when appraisers come in and do it, if the appraisers are going to appraise the homes at a higher because of these additional add-ons too. Or are you spending a lot of time educating people in the building world and appraisers and stuff of the benefits of these features? Because it really is a new thing. It deserves a lot of attention. You
Thank you.
must be speaking at a lot of summits and a lot of publicity on this amazing model.
For sure. Yeah, that's all lining up. So as soon as we get our infrastructure approval, which will be super soon, like we have the site laid out and everything, and the planning board and everything loves it now. Once we get that final stamp, it's like then it will be off and running. You'll start to see renderings everywhere and all that before we even break ground. So it's
I
really
can't wait. I cannot wait to watch this come into fruition and to really see this amazing project. That is so exciting. So exciting. And incorporates a lot of the themes that speakers are talking about on the Financial Freedom Summit. We do have people talking about the neuroscience and neurosemantics and all these sort of things, healthy living, like accessory dwelling units, multiple housing. Like this is just incredible, like the cost for real estate. And I can't wait to learn more. Now, how would you say that your strategy goes against conventional financial planning advice?
So it definitely goes against traditional financial planning advice because it's pretty much like an extension on your house, right? Like it's like who really wants to like build, right?
Mm,
So when it comes to accessory dwelling units, especially for homeowners, I mean, it's like the same process as if you're doing an addition to your home, although it's separate, right? It's like building another house in your backyard, right? So I will say though too, there are ADUs that you can create that are in your basement or your attic. It's just that can get finicky, especially if you've got
mm,
an older home, because then you got to upgrade everything. But the detached model is literally like building another house in your backyard. So just being
mhm,
prepared for that construction journey is really the main thing because most financial planners, I mean, they'll say buy a multifamily property and da 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 because that was always the way, right? But now those multifamilies are becoming condo conversions, and so it's not really economical for a regular buyer to go in and buy, and the numbers just aren't the same as what they used to be. So now really this new tool, this new wealth building tool of accessory dwelling unit is a new process and a lot of people just aren't familiar with, right? So it's just kind of going through new terrain, if you will. So, but the best way that I can describe it is like you're just building another house in your backyard, if you will. So just preparing yourself for what that journey looks like and kind of what the different things that might come up, right? Like there might be site work issues. You might come into something, you might have to pivot what you're going to do with your plumbing and this and that. So, but again, working with the right team, they'll kind of mitigate that process for you. But yeah, I mean, it's just not a traditional thing, right? There's new accessory dwelling unit lenders that will give you a second mortgage on your home in order for you to basically a construction loan for you to build
mhm.
the ADU. So there's like
Yeah.
all these little things that it's just new terrain, right? So now it's about educating homeowners so that they know what they're walking into, really.
Yeah, one of our favorite strategies with this Burr model really is, you buy the home, then you renovate the home, rent the home, and then refinance. Because now you've increased the overall value of the home. You can pull your entire money for construction back sometimes.
Yep,
And then you have
exactly.
that money there for investment, but you also have solved a problem, whether it's an in-law, whether it's downsizing, whether it's rental, no matter what it is. But now you can actually recycle that money and have that money in even while having an extra addition and really going back to that financial literacy component that your primary house is not an asset, it's a liability. And now we've taken this liability and turned it into an asset, which is so powerful. So, so powerful.
Love.
So, if you were starting from scratch today and with no followers, no capital, no connections, what secret move would you use to get ahead fast? Let's pretend you have all the knowledge in the world that you have and you just moved to Toronto to live close to your new best friend, me. What's the first thing you would do?
The first thing I would do is absolutely kind of explore the real estate market, right? Like what makes a financial sense to invest in this market and see really what the market trends are and and really look into what's like the best move there, right? And so if accessory dwelling units are a thing, that's something that I would definitely do, especially as someone moving to Toronto for the first time. It's like, okay, well, how am I going to create this liability and turn it into an asset, right? Purchase a single family home, add an accessory dwelling unit to it, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, I would want to build an entire peak performance community, but that's separate. But for anybody that like, basically going in and like in this way in which you're describing, that's exactly what I would do because it's the lowest barrier to entry as well, right? Which is super exciting. So that's exactly what I would do is figure out a way, line up a lender for the construction costs, get the ADU built, like you said, and then refi out, maybe live in the ADU and then rent out the main house, however the numbers fall. But that's definitely something that I would do as soon as I got there, 100%.
Amazing.
Anytime
And
you have a
so,
chance to build to basically create a liability into an asset is golden.
yes, and it's a need. A lot of people are doing that here too, so it's great.
Mhm.
What would you say the biggest lie or misconception about wealth building that keeps 98% of people stuck?
That they just feel like they don't have the resources to do it. Okay, like, yeah, that's nice for that person, but I don't know how to do it myself. And I think that being okay with asking questions is a really big deal, right? Like there's a lot, especially when it comes to wealth building, that people, they'll go to an event, they'll hear somebody speak or at this summit, for example, and just be too afraid to ask questions. And it's like that's really the biggest prohibitor because when you ask the questions, you get the resources. You get the resources, you can execute. That's really it. That's what it comes down to. It's just so many people fear asking the question. I don't understand why they do that. But it's really a thing because once you know that you're supported and that there's a roadmap and there's a way for you to get there and there's people that will support you in doing that, then you really have no excuse, right? So first step is definitely asking those questions. So that's what I would say.
I think, yeah, so many people are so afraid of making mistakes or
Yeah.
just appearing stupid. I think a lot of people are very embarrassed about, feeling like I don't have enough money every month and I've done everything that I was supposed to do. I went to school, I studied hard, I chose a profession, I work 9 hours a day. I'm doing everything that I was told to do, and I'm still finding it hard to make ends meet every month, or I'm not really living the life that I really want. How can I really kind of make that change? Sometimes ask the question. I always say one of our best business coaches once always said this, what are you trading your life for? And that was just so powerful, like for people to stop and ask themselves. And they're so scared of making mistakes, or and a lot of people I think feel ashamed that they don't have enough money. And most people I feel are in a very tight spot now, especially with interest rates have
Mhm.
increased substantially. People have locked in at low interest rates, and now all of a sudden their interest rate's gone up 5%. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't even afford my house now. What do I do? And everything feels so tight, and it really scares people and terrifies people. But things really, there has been a huge shift in society. People don't have the job certainty they used to have. They're not making the income that they used to make, and the expenses are just going up and up and up. And it's amazing that things that cost whatever years and years ago, some of the things are still, costing the same now. Like it's just an incredible the position people are in, and so many people have so much hidden guilt and shame. And I think that really leads to them to not ask questions and automatically opt themselves out and put this into the millionaires equation. This is real estate's for rich people. I remember I used to think that too. I'd look out the window and think real estate's for rich people, and
Right.
I'm not rich, so I can never do this. So
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And just knowing, and anybody who's watching this, like you're here for a reason. And the reason why you're seeing this is so that you can reach out. And this is the reason why we're here is to really support. And why Monica's here is to really support. So ask those questions. Like this is exactly why you've put this on. So don't be afraid. Like you said, because some people feel like, oh, I could never do that. Like you said, kind of having that like what's that syndrome called? Imposter syndrome,
yeah.
like, oh, it can't possibly be me, right? It totally can be you. That's why you're here, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm
I
totally,
appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, no, I think this is achievable for everyone. Financial freedom can be achievable for everyone, whatever that means to you. A lot of questions have come up from what is financial freedom throughout these 21 interviews, and it's been a real think piece. I really hope everyone gets all 21 interviews and really digest that because it really is transformational about really what it means and how achievable it is. And for me, this is for everyone. It's not just for ultra wealthies or people who could afford real estate now because ideas are free. And so if people can tap in and really kind of grasp an idea and grow from an idea of how they can improve and every day commit to getting a little better and better, that's going to lead to improvement in their lives. And that's where it all starts, I think. Like every day should be better than the last day. So now, what do you see the top 1 to 2% wealthiest people and families doing consistently that the rest of the world ignores or avoids?
I would say one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to, for some reason, and especially this comes with like foreign foreign families. I'm foreign. I'm an immigrant from Albania. So I can tell you like paying off things and like basically like they're so interested in like, I paid all this thing. I paid my car off. I paid all this. And it's like liquidity is everything, right?
Mhm.
Credit is really the main thing to basically leveraging your credit in the right way, not over leveraging, right? So that's what the top 1 to 2% do extraordinarily well is they leverage capital and other people's
Mhm.
wealth incredibly well, which enables them to do what they do, right? Because if they were paying for everything in cash, then there's nothing. You know what I mean? Like even if you were to build an ADU, right? Why would you do that when the equity and the income that you could have coming in or the liquidity that you have, you could put towards another property that's going to earn you even more, right?
Mhm.
So just like this, that's a really big misconception that I know of, especially in the homeowner realm. And watching the top 1 to 2%, getting into real estate, about 12 years ago, kind of learning the game has been really, really interesting, kind of opened up my eyes to that, no question. Being
Yes.
able to leverage capital, other people's well, other people's capital, things like that. Because that's what the 1 to 2% do extraordinarily well. And it
Mhm.
fascinates me every single time. But that's really one of the biggest wealth secrets, to be able to learn
Absolutely.
to leverage that is a really big deal.
And what to leverage, what not to leverage, how to utilize it. We often call it at RPI, we call it strategic leverage. So it's not, we don't want to leverage everything, in your life, whatever. We need to have strategic leverage where you really kind of purposefully get your assets, paying for your liabilities, which is the main thing. This was amazing, Pam. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add with our audience? I think you might have a free gift that you are offering.
Yes, 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 for sure. I know that the accessory dwelling unit world is so new in so many cities. I know mostly West Coast, they've kind of got their handle on it, but really the main people that have a handle on it is the developers, right? So this is really for the homeowners, for the beginner investors, investors in general who haven't heard about anything when it comes to accessory dwelling units or are super curious, or even those that know about it and just want to learn more. I created an accessory dwelling unit book, so an ADU ebook. So that basically has like basically a whole bunch of questions and what does the process look like? It is catered towards Massachusetts, but basically you can use it in any single state because it's the same process. It kind of walks through everything with you, just so like you have all the data for yourself. Like if this is something that makes sense for you and your family, or if it's an investment that you're looking at, that you kind of know what's coming. So.
That is such a generous gift. Thank you so much for that. Audience, the link to the gift is going to be in the same email where you're watching this video, so make sure to click on that and download. Thank you so much, Pam, for your time and for your generous gift. I appreciate you so much. And audience, thanks for tuning in. And make sure to keep an eye on your inbox for tomorrow, where you will receive another email from our next guest speaker who will be sharing their powerful wealth building strategy to help you fast track your financial freedom. Thanks so much, everyone.